But when a rules analyst comes on and says, wow, this is the wrong call. They actually got this wrong. And we're just going to let it happen? We're just going to let that occur. That's insane. Welcome back to the Green Means Go channel. It's your host, me. And truthfully, I have been sitting on this video all NFL season. I have thought about this nearly every Sunday that I watch a game, and I thought I need to make a video about how the officiating is broken, and not just how it is broken, but how it can be fixed. And after last night's game with the Chiefs and the Houston Texans, which all of you either watched or have seen replays of, you know exactly what I'm referring to. Let us look first at last night's play. Specifically, not just the play, but the play and then the conversation that followed. So I want you to watch, but I also want you to listen. Listen to Joe Buck. Listen to Troy Aikman, because this clip is the exigence of this video.
Mahomes dropped it. Able to get it and take off to his right. And then slide down. They're going to throw a flag on that. I mean, it was a late slide, but they throw the flag, and it was Clay Martin who threw it.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 39.
Oh, come on.
15 yards.
Okay, did you hear that? NFL broadcasters, commentators are supposed to be, by law, by nature, the most neutral people involved in the game. Okay, maybe the refs. NFL broadcasters are not supposed to publicly critique refs. You do not hear it very often. You may hear them disagree with a call, but to say, to let yourself slip, oh, come on, is not something we normally hear. And that shows you, before you even watch the rest of this, that shows you how blatantly wrong this decision was. That a supposed to be neutral guy in a box is publicly declaring, subconsciously almost, like he doesn't want to say these words. They come out because he can't help but be honest. Oh, come on. He is disappointed in Clay Martin's analysis of the situation. This is just half the battle. Let's watch the rest of this and see what transpires, and then we'll talk about it.
Here's the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a runner, and I could not disagree with that one more, and he barely gets hit. That's the second penalty now that's been called against the Texans.
And Troy, I agree with you. There's no forcible contact to the head neck area of him. The two Houston players hit each other. That should not have been a foul.
And if they've got to address it in the offseason. You can't, as a quarterback, run around and play games with defenders and then get a...
The ball has still not been snapped. So let's talk about this, because this is not the first time. And let's compartmentalize everything we know about the Kansas City Chiefs, because there are going to be people who say this in a vacuum is a problem, but this specific instance, because it was the Chiefs, because it was the situation, because of the NFL wanting the Chiefs to win, because it's all rigged, we're going to ignore that for now. We're just going to talk about this instance, because this is not an instance that is specific to the Chiefs. This happens every single Sunday. So here's the timeline of events drawn very accurately for you. Mahomes slides. A flag is then thrown. Before the call on the field is made, Joe and Troy express disagreement. This is a key piece. Before anything has happened on the field that would legally constitute 15 yards, people who have a better view, who have an understanding of the game, who can see it from a bird's eye view, from a better perspective, are able to analyze a situation and disagree. That's a key piece here. The call on the field is made. Joe or Troy, their voices, they all blend in my head. One of them says, oh, come on. They then continue to explain why it's bogus. Not only do they continue to explain, they rationalize it all. He's a runner. He slides late. The Houston Texans hit each other's head more than they do Patrick Mahomes. A replay from 3, 4, and 5 angles comes in. All for the viewer at home to see. And this is a key piece, because if your money The people at home are the money for the NFL. How does the NFL survive? It has a large viewer base. If people at home are going to continue to see the truth, and I sound overdramatic here, but if people at home are able to see what was the correct call, and they're able to butt that up against the incorrect call that was actually called, you have a bad product. If people at home can see that the wrong thing was made and there was nothing done to fix it, your product is a failure or will continue to become a failure. I have never seen, last night on Twitter, so many people from all sides of the aisle were disgusted at what happened in that game with the referees. I didn't even see Chiefs fans supporting what was going on. Twitter was united last night in their disgust of what was occurring. You saw Houston Texans interviews, Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, Joe Mixon, Will Anderson, all in the locker room commenting on it. This is a Chiefs issue to some degree, but it is also an issue that can be fixed, point blank period, and that is why I'm here to fix it. So before the next play is snapped, the literal rules analyst, the guy whose job it is to understand the game, says it was the wrong call. Yeah, I just disagree with this, and he explains why he disagrees with it, and then the next play is snapped. So if we look at the timestamps, and I know I'm getting down to the nitty gritty, if we look at the timestamps, from the time the call on the field is given, it's 37 seconds. There is a whole 30 seconds that transpires before the next play is snapped. That is plenty of time for something to happen. So what something do I want to happen? Well, first, I want them to get it right. That 30 seconds is the time where a correction can be made if a correction is clear and obvious. So how do we get that done? Before we talk about how we get it done, we need to understand that this is not something I am mad at the refs for. Refs are human, refs are limited, and at one point, that's all we had. I fully understand that refs can only do so much. And when we started sports, we did not have sky cams. We did not have 60 angles. We did not have 4K HD at the touch of a button for the last 30 seconds that just happened. We have cameras in the pylons, in the first down markers. Anything that happens on the field, from your couch, you can go back and review in a matter of 30 seconds. The current process that we are operating under in the NFL reflects an archaic system. And the conversation is going to be, well, it's the money. Like, it would cost too much money to overhaul the system. Guys, the system exists. This wouldn't cost any extra dollars, which is why it's so puzzling to me why they don't do anything about it. So why are we refusing to use the technology we already have to make the game more fair? That is what is perplexing to me. And this is why you have conversations like you do last night about, oh, the NFL's rigging it. Oh, it's all, they want the Chiefs to win, right? When you cannot call a game fairly and you have the technology to fix the rules to call a game fairly and you're refusing to do that season after season, the allegations will mount. And it's going to be harder to beat the allegations. Now we're going to get to it. I'm sorry, guys. In short, here's my plan. Refs continue to do their job. Nothing needs to change with what is happening on the field. But when a call is blatantly, and notice I have underlined that word, wrong, like it was last night. I'm not arguing for ticky-tack holding calls. It could go both ways. Guys can't agree. If that's the case, stick to what's happening on the field. But when a call is blatantly wrong, a group of dedicated rules experts correct it, and the refs use the headset that they already have to change the call. It's very, very simple. They already do this with play outcomes, and this is a new thing, and maybe calls on the field, maybe flags, maybe penalties are the next logical step, and maybe they will get there, and I hope they do. They are already doing this with reviews. Think incomplete passes. A call is a catch. They line up to spot it. The ref is notified in his headset, oh, it was actually incomplete. They'll say, correction. Expedited review has said that the call was incomplete, right? They do this already, and nobody's arguing with that. In fact, we love it. I've never heard anyone say anything negative about it. They do it with first downs. They do it with spots of the ball, right? It's touchdowns. This already exists. So why not add clear and obvious mistakes in officiating to this list? like we saw last night. It would have taken $0 and 0 cents and 0 extra time for the rules analyst or whoever, once it's determined that that call was bogus, to phone in to Clay Martin and say, hey, you missed that one. You had a bad angle. Like, people at home saw the angle. We know that that was not. You are going to catch flack for this. Change the call. Correction. After review, it was not roughing the passer. The Houston Texans players collided with themselves and the quarterback slid late. Boom. Move the ball back and play the game. Nobody's going to object to that. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, but the film is there, right? The framework literally exists at every game. They have replay officials whose job it is to look at reviews and make sure they're handled consistently, efficiently, and correctly. So they already have a mastery of the rule book that they're tested on. So why not give them, or even create a second branch to do penalties? And maybe reviews and penalties are too much for a couple guys. Bring in some other guys. So if you want to talk money, maybe you hire 2, 3, 4 extra guys. And I get it. That adds up across the game. But do you want your game to be fair? The NFL's not hurting for money. They will be fine. And maybe these guys can do it since they're already watching. I don't know the logistics of that piece. At worst, you have to hire a few extra people, which the NFL can't afford to do to make the product better. So here's some notes. Like I said, I want this to be clear and obvious. I don't want them to argue, oh, was it holding? Oh, was it not? Oh, I can see how maybe that's pass interference, but maybe it could go both ways. When in doubt, go with the call on the field. If a rules analyst can't determine, and he's not sure, and he's fine with the call on the field, then let's leave it. That doesn't bother me. When the rules analyst comes in and say, it's tough. It could go either way. If that's the case, leave it with the field. But when a rules analyst comes on and says, wow, this is the wrong call. They actually got this wrong. And we're just going to let it happen. We're just going to let that occur. That's insane. That's insane to me. It makes absolutely no sense with the technology that we have for someone with the most power over the rules. I know I keep repeating myself, but I have to get it through my head that this is actually happening. I'm sitting on my couch and I hear a guy say, yeah, that's wrong. And we're just going to let it happen. Because what? Because we haven't put a rule in that can fix it. Let's put the rule in. We don't need lengthy reviews. I don't want them to go to the monitor. I don't want them to have to phone a friend every time there's a pass interference. I'm not asking for that. Think about the times this season where the rules analyst has said a call was obviously wrong before the next play is snapped. It happens every week. That's why I wanted to make this video for so long. If you go back to my gosh darn journal where I write my ideas, how to fix NFL officiating was written week 2, because I've been fed up with it for that long. This is the bottom line. This is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. And you can agree or you can disagree. And I would encourage you to drop your theories. If an expert of the rule book can use camera angles and technology to see a play better, more accurately, more fairly, more realistically, more authentically than the ref on the field, in order to make the correct call, why wouldn't we? Unless it's all rigged. Unless the NFL is a for-profit business that has vested interests in having certain teams outperform others. And when a game is close, they want power over doing everything that they can to control the outcomes so that certain teams make it farther because more people will watch. I'm not a conspiracy guy. But you run out of logical reasons why things are or are not in play. And when you do not institute something, when the infrastructure and the common sense allows for it at $0 invested to make your product more fair and more accurate for everyone involved, including fans, and you're negligent, and you don't do that, see what I'm saying? That's where you get into rigged conversations. The NFL wants the Chiefs to win. So I hope very much that the NFL in the next 5 years, I'll give them some time, is able to do this. Because if not, I think we got some problems with the product.